going on there, YouTube? It's going to be Downer coming to you from Osawa, Japan, Pinku style. My garage up in the upstairs part up here. Just doing another podcast right here. One thing right at the bat, guys out there want to kind of get out there and I promise I'm going to bring these podcasts more, but I kind of got into that. I got into the flow of kind of getting guests on and things like that. Not that I have nothing against guests. I definitely want to have guests on here periodically, but I want to let you guys know I can definitely maintain and do the podcast myself. For that reason, when I'm alone, I'm going to start thinking of segments. Segments are going to be segmented as far as like I got an actual topic that I brought up myself for things, but it's still going to be unfiltered, I don't want to, I'm not a Hollywood person, so I don't want to try to pretend to be that. And that's just one thing I kind of see. We watch other podcasts; they talk a lot of stuff about Hollywood, and they kind of mirror the same thing, and it's like a processed thing. And I want to keep it real. This is my spare time, which I really don't have a lot of, so I don't want to be stressed out about this, that, and other stuff like that. So anyway, just getting right into it. This particular segment is going to be about drift crashing. I had my guy Minto Still a few episodes ago, and it's kind of right when I was talking to him, and at the time it popped in my mind, but I had a bunch of guests set up and different things like that. So what I'm going to do for this podcast is pretty much just go over. It's been years removed since the crashes I'm going to talk about. They're pretty major crashes, either in significance of the car was severely broken, or it was like something that I really learned at that time. It helped me towards drifting down. So we're going to break down about four crashes here. We're going to go cycle through those guys and everything. Before I get into that, just want to give a shout out to my guys, Bridge Moto, Alan Newsom, and Rachel over at Bridge Moto down in Georgia. Talking Rock, Georgia, and everything. So this is a brand new ultraviolet gloves from Bridge Motor. Very, very comfortable, very sleek and everything, very form fitting. So I go and slide one on for you really quickly. And I got pretty large hands, and they fit like great for my hands and everything. There's no extra material, so like your hands and everything, it fits really good. You've got your suit on, it fits down really good there. So I really like this glove, and I really recommend getting over to Bridge Motor and checking it out. Also, as you guys know, a little while ago, I got, I announced it, then I pulled it back, and I announced it again, but EDEL, which is based in China, which like most stuff are. They sent me some samples. I'm actually conducting some tests right now on these clutches right here. This particular one is going to be going into my S14 that I'm posted up a little while ago. This is RB25 twin plate clutch, and I've been working with these guys for about 3 months or 2 months now, and like I say, different companies are different and everything, but I had them see my perspective on why I need to have things in shop and everything. Pretty standard stuff. I've had a lot of clutches: ORS, Ogura, Exetti, ATS. I've used them all, and I know quality. And this thing, it's definitely a good quality piece. I'm not going to speak on who they may produce for. That's not my place to say, but look at the color right there. You look on the market to see what's out there. You kind of can see what it is. So just keeping it real out there. There's sources for everything. I'm not trying to knock on anybody's parade, but again, I try to work with Ogura. I tried to work with different companies. Make sure my audio is going right here. But I try to work with different companies, and I don't know whether I'm a new shop or they got enough promotion out there, but they just didn't need me. So they didn't need me. So I found the source, got my own stuff, and actually going to working on producing my own line of clutches and things like that. So moving right along. Again, this video about is you see a lot of guys out there. Everybody posts the good stuff. Some people post like I had a bad day, I had a crash or whatever, but they don't get right into it because you don't move on and get to the next stage of life. But some guys, they'll spend a lot of times highlighting and acting like they're perfect. And even when editing, I'm a victim of it. You would edit your clips together back in the day. Back when you sucked at drifting, you would edit your clips together to make it look like you were like killing it all day when really you were spinning out here. You weren't completing a lap, and then it got to a point where I just started doing full up unedited laps and everything just to show that I wasn't doing that and stuff like that. So these videos are ranged between maybe 2009 and 2012 for the crashes. Not saying I'm not it's not that I can't crash now, but over the years you work out like while you crash, and then crashes will happen, and that's one thing I will point out to guys that are just getting into this, just getting started with drifting and things like that. Don't look at it like, when people are like, oh, my buddy's like, oh, I ain't never crashed. odds are guys out there who has never crashed, that means they never pushing the boundaries. The same guys that always saying my car lasts forever, that means you're not pushing a car, man. Because I don't, F1 cars blow, NASCAR blow. I always pointed out just to let you guys see the difference. You know how much money those guys spend, and I mean you got top guys in the game like Daigo and all that who cars blow up. I mean things happen, man. It doesn't matter how much you spend. I keep saying this again. Doesn't matter how much you spend. The modified parts only make it last a little bit longer, but it's still mechanical. You still got tons of horsepower. Spinning things and pushing things and pulling things, things are gonna break, man. So if you don't want to do that, you're just not about the life. So anyway, just jump right into it. I talked a little bit already. It's already 5 minutes in, so I don't want to lose you guys because I know my analytics again say most people tune in for about 15 minutes. So it's not gonna be a long podcast because we're gonna talk about the crash, what happened, and things like that. So let's get right into it. The first one here we're gonna bring up is gonna be Sazan Circuit. This was around about 2000. I want to say 2012. 2012 or 2013 in my S13. This was the SIL 80. Yeah, this was the SIL 80 because I'll get into why that car's not around anymore. So we're just gonna play the video and we'll observe what. All right, so that was Sazan Circuit, like I said, 2012 right there. With this particular event, the reason why, I mean, I know exactly why I crashed. This particular track, it's in Sendai, Sazan Circuit, a very old circuit. It kind of mimics Sugo Circuit for guys out there who have been around for a little bit. And pretty much what went down with this particular track was it was very, very bumpy. My first time driving there, I was just kind of getting into somewhat of a groove, and I made a mistake that you don't do. I adjusted. I watched drivers drive, and then I was seeing everybody hot. I mean, every car out there. There's just like if you watch the what's that, the FMX or the motocross or whatever, and the guys go over the whoops or whatever, and it just goes like that. Well, the track, the front section felt just like that. I never rode a dirt bike on whoops, but it kind of like that's what it felt like. I mean, you go down the street and your car just goes like it hops, and I got there late, so I was number one late to the party. So when I got there, I had to wait for my class to come up. But I unloaded the truck and everything. Got there, and what happened was pretty much I was looking at the thing and I'm like, man, I see everybody coming up the track and they're like, fuck, man, complaining, like not complaining, but like first time there, and the feelings are like, man, this track sucks. It does. It's an old, unkept track. I haven't been back there since. But anyway, I was like, man, I gotta lighten up my suspension or lighten up the compression, the dampeners to kind of absorb those bumps. And bad mistake on my part, adjusting something that before I actually went out there and drove it. So right away I didn't compensate, or I should have seen how my last suspension setup was. Just drove it first and then adjust it. And so that was a mistake on my part. Never do that. I would suggest not doing that, guys. Don't adjust your car based on a theory of what you've seen, what you're watching, because you got to feel it with yourself and feel it with your setup. Maybe it actually it's not gonna be that bad. So you kind of want to overcompensate for what happened right there, and that just went down. Also going into that, watching on the video, as you guys just watched, I was like, that particular run was off. If you watched the one before that, it was kind of more on and engaged and went around and everything. I shouldn't attempted to drift there. I kind of forced the drift. There was nothing there. There was no momentum there, and it was just bad. So what happened pretty much once I initiated that weak clutch cut, I wasn't going fast enough. Once I initiated that weak clutch kick and steer in, what happened pretty much was the wheel came out the ground, and there was no feeling there. So I literally, when the wheel was in the air, I couldn't feel anything, and it came down and caught and just went straight into the mountain like you're seeing right there again. So actually, I'm running back one more time so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. See if I can kind of skip forward. So right there, when I went to go initiate in, I should have just not did that. I should have just killed that drift and just went around, did another lap, and then engaged again. So when I went to go steer in, there was literally no contact. So I'll play it again. We'll just continue that. Yeah, there was literally no there was no. I mean, it was the first time in my life I've ever felt no contact from the wheel. I mean, like when or I'll say, if you guys have ever jacked a car up on a jack stand or whatever, and you turn a wheel, you see how fast you could turn a wheel. Well, literally, it went from having feedback to no feedback. So, for example, the guys who play Gran Turismo, Forza, or whatever that has force feedback. When I turn it, first turn in, I could feel a little resistance, and then when I got to that point where I went to go steer, there was nothing. It was just like nothing. So that's why you see the wheel flopping around and everything like that. It was just not good. So again, the track was just really bad. The track is really bad. I mean, honestly, really, really bad track. The backsides that was not judged were fine, but the actual judging portion, it was like dips, it was fall offs, it was wild. I definitely want to go back there again and just play on that track again. But I just never. It wasn't like Mubara or BC or Maze. It wasn't one of those circuits where I wanted to go back and do it again. So I just never went back, and that's been that for that. So yeah, let me see. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about, and they say it was like very light crash. All right, let me see. So this one right here, I'm going to talk about a little bit. We'll play the video first and talk about it. So. All right, I'm gonna pause it right here. All right, so you guys, you see on the picture that's the still image that's right here. Number one, where you see where the car is. I'm pretty sure the mouse might not be in the actual video, but where the car is at right now, I'm supposed to be in this entry point to drift the whole. What I was attempting to do. The car is supposed to be with a clipping point. I'm way off the clipping point right there. And that was actually a picture. Again, this was back in like 2009, 2010 when I was just getting acclimated to the track and everything and drifting the full length of MSP. So pretty much your car, where the R33 is at right now, it's supposed to be actually way closer to that clipping point. I mean, you're supposed to pretty much nose it, not go off the road, but you're supposed to be way closer to that clipping point. You guys see the black lines there. Where the line is, so there's different lines. So actually, if the line I'm on right now in that picture, there's a north course and a north course and a south course portion of Ibisu. I'm not Ibisu, but MSP, which is modeled after Ibisu. Those guys who don't know. And on this line I'm on right now, that line is sufficient for doing the half course, which you're going all the way around the half course, and you're linking the half course. But for the full course, which is what I was doing that day, or trying to do. And I was like dicking around, not doing it really, not really committing. You're supposed to be more into that clipping point, so I was way off. So right there, and I had a person in the car, my buddy Grant, and I was showing off. It was this really bad situation right there. So I'll go ahead and unpause it so you can see the rest of the damage. So that's another picture right there. And that's the final result of the accident. So I hit, as you can see, if you look down on the bottom left of the picture, there's a really big tire right there, and that really is a really big tractor tire. So that whole tractor tire is right in the crease of the car. So it bent. You had a roll cage in there, and there's a bolt-on cage. Guys out there who get bolt-on cage shit, that saved my leg because it pushed the cage. I couldn't use it anymore because it bent. But the tractor tire, I hit that about second going into third gear or whatever, and it just smashed everything. The car was wrecked. It was beyond repair. So pulled the engine stuff out. I bought an R33, and that's the R33 I have now. And I swapped all the stuff into that. So yeah, man, it was a bad accident, and I lost the car. I got that R33 back in 2008. And yeah, it sucked. It was my first major wreck ever. Like I said, this was 2009. Yes, 2009. 2009 going into 2010. I got to Japan in 2008, so I got about a season out of the car and everything. It's just learning pains. I mean, it's just something I did. So number one, what I wouldn't have did, I should have known. I knew I was offline, but I pushed it. I had a person in the car. I tapped the wall, which you seen on there. It says wall tap. I should have shut it down. So what I tried to do was I tried to Scandinavian flick into it, and that was a bad thing. So pretty much it just understeered from the wall out to that point, and then I wrecked right there. So I just should have not have pushed it. You got to learn when like because if you mess up, for example, the guys who drift at Minami course, you see people crash a lot. A lot of the Minami, man, you're crashing. Your accidents actually. They're done way before you even get to that the proverbial jump, which you're not really supposed to jump full fledged for judging stuff, because judges don't look for the jump. But when you see people crash at the Ibisu Minami course, it's because of everything they did before they initiated. So the initiation has to be good, the middle point has to be good, the third part of the run has to be good, and the final part final part of the run has to be good. So if you're not prepared, or if you're second guessing it, just shut the drift down and redo it. So this accident right here was as the result of over pushing when it wasn't there. The one I just again played at Sazon, that was a result of like I should have just shut it down. It was just a bad initiation. So again, 2 bad initiations in a row caused the crash, and that's most all crashes is a bad initiation or a fuck up somewhere. And both of these were not mechanically related. There was nothing wrong with the tires, nothing wrong with anything. I caused the crash. So we'll move on to the next one, which is going to be my one. I had a Sylvia at the Bisu. All right, so that's the aftermath of the crash right there. Pretty fucked up. Then when you guys see where I crashed it, you're going to be like, what the hell? This is on Minami course. So I messed all that stuff up. All right, so the image pulling up right here. So the red zone right there is the red zone that you see on the line is generally where everybody crashes on Minami. You crash at the top, you crash somewhere in the middle, you crash somewhere towards the end, or you crash into the tire barrier. So that's where all the crashes happen on Minami. Nowhere else. I crashed like a dumbass on the inside of the safe zone. So I was coming around with this particular time. It was a portion where I should have not have pushed past the tires. You do a lap and you see one more lap. At this time, it was about 1-2 in the morning actually at Minami, because this was during the BC Drift My City, which is 24 hours of drifting for those guys that don't know. So people are sleeping, people are drifting is a known thing. So it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm drifting. I'm actually trying to learn Minami. It was nobody out there, so all the guys were vets at Minami at this time. This was about 2012 or 2011 or 12, 13. It was in between that time frame. Time flies, man. It's 2020 now. It's crazy. So in the daytime, you got Daigo, you got Robbie Nishida, you got Shinji, you got all these guys, Stewie at the time, Jay Ducka, CZ Pickering. All those guys will really kill it during the daytime because you have spectators out there and it's cool to put on a spectacle. During the daytime, you have all the really fast drivers out there. You don't really want to screw up while those guys out there run into their door and cause accidents with another moving vehicle. So all the guys, myself included, back in that time, I was trying to learn Minami. So actually, I did about I swear, man, about 40, 50 laps. Because again, you go out there, you fill up, you got tires, and the front tires were kind of shitty. So that's what happened. Pretty much the tires, I knew they were messed up. I kept pushing. And on the inside, actually, I had a somewhat of a decent run. I didn't record anything back then, or for that particular run. I had a decent run, and then I come on the inside, and then I just lost all steering again sensation, and then right into the big K block. It's like not K blocks, but it's like a big block, huge block. I mean, I hit the block. Car's about 2,000, 2,800 pounds or whatever. It didn't budge the block. The block didn't move at all. Maybe it went back a little inch, but the car was wrecked from those blocks. So I'm probably the only guy that's wrecked the car that I know inside of that zone, in the green zone. Man, that was embarrassing. I didn't really talk about. He was like, "How you crash?" I just said, "I crashed Minami." I didn't talk about crash inside there. Nobody seen it. Only in the BC guy workers had to come out there. I felt bad about those guys that had to come out there and rescue the car and everything. So that sucked. So in a nutshell, when you from this what I learned from this crash right there was pretty much reloaded. So what I learned from that crash was when you like say one more lap, man, make sure your car is good to go. If you're experiencing like a understeering and things like that, or vibrations or whatever, man, get off the track and check it. And this was not a case where I was like rushed to drift or whatever. Again, I had the whole track, I had the whole Miami to myself. It was only 1:00 in the morning. There was still another whole day of drifting. The cool thing about that crash is the R33 that I rebuilt. I had 2 cars there, so I wasn't out of luck. That car was crashed. I took it back to Power Vehicles at the time. We put it there, and actually that engine, I came back down there about 2 weeks later. Me, Matt Zacanti, a few other guys, and I ripped the engine out because we didn't have an engine hoist, so we had to like pick the car up and pull it from out the bottom. So I needed those guys for help, and I think Aaron Wolf was there, and a few other guys, and who else was there, man? There was a few other dudes that were there, man. It was some weapons. They were all weapons guys actually. We went down there, pulled it out, and everything. And that engine from that car lived in like 3 other cars, and I think it's in a 4th car right now. So it actually had a long life. But again, I learned from that point is just you have issues, come off the track and get it done. So this last one, let me see right here. It's going to be the most. I saved this one for last because it's the most significant. I'll start the slideshow now. So for you guys who haven't seen it, this is the Seal Lady that I drove in a while. Let me make this a little bit bigger and start it over. All right, so this Seal Lady is the one that I built back, and I got back in 2012, 11, something like that. Then I started to going towards like D1 and all that good stuff and everything. So and that's the end of the car right there. I mean, I cut everything off. I cut everything off. So the final thing right here is the final image of the. Move this over a little bit. It's covering my face. All right, so the car again. I stripped everything off of it. I took I didn't leave not a nut bolt. The only thing that was left on it was the front glass, and the front glass was actually cracked, so it wasn't worth anything. But I took everything, the side glasses, the quarter panels, cut the whole rear section out. I skinned it. It was only thing that was left was the frame, and that was it. I mean, barely that. So I took everything out the car. So I really utilized everything. I had all the spare parts and everything. So I'm looking at this image right here. Of course, I'm not gonna name the place where I crashed at because your guys still go out there, and I don't want to. I don't participate or do tollgate stuff anymore after this night. And I don't want to blow up their spot, so I'm definitely not give your names. I'm sorry, guys, I won't give it out to you. If you're here, you know about it. If you don't, you'll find it yourself. Not by me. So that won't be that guy. So anyway, by this point, this was like 2013. No, sorry, this was like 2014, 15. I already had the car for a couple of seasons. I did the SR20 thing a little bit, and I got rid of that, went to the RB and everything, and this was about 2013, 14, or something like that. I was out of the military by this time. I was a contractor, so it was like it was 13 or 14. That was one of those years. So anyway, this road right here. Again, I won't give you the actual location, but the actual design of the road, it was this exactly. I remember it because I drove on it a bunch of times actually. So pretty much you kind of go up, and the bottom road, the bottom road that's going straight is not a good representation of what it actually looked like, because it was actually a lot wider. It's about a 2 or 3 lane wide road. So pretty much you would come down, you can manji into that turn, or you can actually manji out of it and manji as much as you want. So what happened with me, this particular time, man, this situation, to give you some situation on what happened here was, let me take a swig of water, man. My mouth was dry as hell. All right, this particular situation, I told it before in the last few podcasts before. I was in a D1 event, and it didn't go my way. I didn't qualify, whatever the reason was. I screwed myself up. Actually, wasn't really nothing wrong with the car. I just messed up. But during that event, I was seeing a lot of favoritism, man. It was the first time I seen it like face to face, like guys giving guys a nod or whatever. And I already knocked myself out the event. But I just seen some other buddies that were still in the event that drove from a far place away, and they just didn't get the nod. And and there was one particular controversial part, and everybody was like saying the same thing, where this guy who was a known promoter of the particular track I was at, he messed up, man, and everybody seen it, and it was like, dude, how does this guy get it past, and he straightened up during the drift? Like, I mean, other guys wasn't the best, but if you're going to give the run, if both people messed up, the guy who's still sideways has the advantage. The guy who's straightened up, like if you gotta really pick it down and narrow it down, and this was like a one more time run as well. So my buddy from Saitama drifted decently, kind of straightened up a little bit, but it was as a result of the other guy straightening it fully up. They still gave this guy a nod, and the thing about it, the guy who they gave the nod to, he got knocked out the next round anyway. My buddy could have continued on and whatever. So I was, it wasn't, it was just I didn't like to see it, man. And the thing about it, you guys hang out, but you don't see, as far as I know, you don't see like NHL or soccer or football or actual American football. You don't see referees or judges or whatever, or like figure skating. I don't know if the Tanya Harding, or that's probably not a good example, but or Nancy Kerrigan or whatever. You don't see them hanging out the night before at a pub or getting wasted with the judges or whatever. And people out there who might know what I'm talking about, if you feel like it's directed towards you, it's because it is, man. And it's kind of a shitty situation. Not saying your drift skills ain't good, but it's kind of like that thing, man. I'm not going to be out there wasting my money, kissing ass, sucking up, trying to get that thing. I mean, for whatever reason you want to do it for, that's your reason. But anyway, that situation led to me being angry about the event. This particular situation actually happened the next night after the event. I was still fuming about the process. It was still a weekend, and it was a Sunday night, because the next morning I was supposed to be at work on Monday, and I had to call my guy, who's another drifter, say, hey, man, I told him straight up, hey, man, I just stuffed my car in the mountains. He was cool about it. He's done it before, so he knew exactly where I was at. So I was like, yeah, man, let me get this car out of here, because, all right, so the image that you see right there, I got it on the screen. I was coming downhill hot. That was about the line. The line was really messed up, what I was doing. And also it was pitch black dark and my lights were not that bright. So, I'm coming down or whatever. I got like kind of crazy with it. I was kind of like showing off a little bit. I had about 500 something horsepower, 50 whatever horsepower engine that was way too much powerful for this particular pass. And I was drifting in third gear, which they were telling me not to. I thought they were saying like, because or whatever. It was a group of guys out there who pretty much was like, who the fuck is this guy? And I was like, all right, I'll show you who I am. So I did a bunch of runs, and on this particular run, I stuffed the car. And luckily, man, 2 runs before this, I had a girl in the car. One of the guy's girlfriends wanted to ride, because she was hearing the sounds of the cars. And again, my car was a prep track car, basic level, entry level, about $70K, $60K invested. But my car was way more expensive than any car out there. So the sounds, all that stuff was a lot more aggressive than their cars, because their cars are just regular cars with like diffs and suspension. So I come down there. I'm coming down here wide open third gear. I shouldn't have been in third gear. I should have kept in second gear like they said. I come around way too much wheel spin. There was nothing on the ground. It was all dry. And where you see the white line it was a turnbuckle or a whatever you call it, man. That shit was there. So I'm coming down. I got too much rotation, over-rotated. I hit the back of it, spun the car 180 degrees, and then where you see the cars in the trees actually is not a good representation on the angle, because actually the road is not. It was upgrade. It was up and downhill. So when I crashed, it was actually a flat top up here, and the road is like down here. So if you see my hands like this, the road is here. And you can imagine when I hit the turnbuckle, the car crashed and went down the hill like this. And then those trees right there, I crashed right into the side of the trees. Another bolt-in cage that saved my leg, because sure enough, if it wasn't for that bolt-in cage, my fucking leg would have been crushed. Because again, I bent that cage again. So again, that's two points for bolt-in cages, proper bolt-in cages on proper chassis. If you bolt in a cage on a shitty cage, you don't use the backing plates, you don't use the and as the chassis is bad, of course you're gonna have those issues. Then some people mention if you hit something at high speed or rate, the cage acts like a can opener. If your cage is acting like a can opener, that means like of course you got the top half. I mean, it has to be a really violent crash. I mean, I'm talking about like the crashes where you guys see like the WRC guys rolling down the hill like that. That and Pikes Peak, that's a different level. Yeah, it possibly can do that. But we're talking about in drifting, you just got one quick bump or whatever, and you're done. Maybe you roll around a little bit and that's it. But my roll cages the 2 roll cages that I've had in that particular crash, and those crashes, both saved my right leg because both caved in. So ironically, that R33 when I crashed there, it hit the tire on the same right side as the my leg. And this crash right here, when I did a 180 and spun around down a hill, I crashed into the side of the tree, car wrecked. And it was that right side again that saved my leg, man. So bolting cages work fine as long as you put it in. So that's kind of like some extra stuff right there. Basically, like I say, the reason why I crashed is just a sheer mistake. Visibility. Once I seen what was coming up, it was just kind of too late. And when I'm kind of going to go backtrack a little bit because I said I drove there a bunch. That was actually my second night actually driving there. The first time I went there, I was with some people. I drove their cars and there was slow stuff. I mean, like almost bald tires. It was raining that night and it was like low speed stuff. I drifted a few times. This is my first time in one of my cars there, but this road right here runs to a mountain that you go towards snowboarding and stuff like that. Guys who are in Misawa, you probably can add it up. Not going to say any, again, I'm not promoting the stuff right here. I don't want to tell you where it is. If you find it good on you. It won't be on me. But you drive past this road a bunch to go snowboarding and everything, and it's the next town over in Misawa. So that's as much as I'll give you. So anyway, come down there, third speed, wide open, too damn fast, too much wheel speed. By the time I realized that what was going on right there, I honestly kind of panicked because the street thing is a different kind of street drifting is a different kind of deal. And not saying that you're scared or anything like that, but street drifting is just a little bit different. And I kind of panicked a little bit because you got more stuff at risk. And yeah, I ran it off the road, hit the turnbuckle a little bit, clipped it, went down the hill. The only fortunate part was the guys I was with that night. One of the guys' dad was somewhat of a, he did some off the book stuff and everything, and he was going to get the car to there for me. And that same night, it was just how this stuff works that way, man. That same night, which I didn't check, that same night that I crashed, that insurance expired that night at 12. By the time I crashed, it was about 2 a.m. in the morning, and it was the next day. So I mean, we could have left the car there and I went and got insurance for it, but I wanted the car gone. I wanted the car out of there as soon as possible. So I told his dad to grab it. His dad was going to use this as an insurance write-off, which pretty much was to do me a favor for a case of beer, and he collect the insurance money for the pickup. So that didn't happen, man. So I ended up having to pay the guy. He ended up charging me the money he was going to make. He ended up charging me like $1,200, which at that particular time, I was working at a contracting job. I was making like $1,000 every 2 weeks. It was nothing, and I was living here in Japan. Just got the military, so that really sucked, man. It took me like 5 payments to pay him back in increments of $200, which is Nihon yen, which is $200 1-to-1 ratio, and that really sucked. And that sent me back almost 2.5-3 years. That one night, man, that one situation. So, again, I'm not knocking street. If you guys want to go out there and do street, that's cool with you. But, man, if I didn't do that one night, odds are that car, I probably have wrecked it on the track. But I could still have that car. And, yeah, man, it set me back. Even though I rebuilt the car since with a Sylvia and shelled everything over to that car. But, that one night, man, one incident, one accident, man. And also, if the guy his dad got me out there, I would have been out of Japan because something like that, the magnitude of that crash, and I hit a tree, they would have charged me for damaging a fucking tree, man. That tree been around before I was born, is going to be around after I die probably. That big, huge trees, huge trees. I'd probably knock some bark off the tree, but in Japan, they'll charge you for that. They'll charge you like $10,000 for knocking bark off of a tree. Like, no shit. I'm not joking around, man. So when you want to come up here and do street drifting and toge, man, just be knowledgeable of your surroundings. Have a backup plan, and don't get screwed, man. Because if you're here as a gaijin, they don't mess around, man. They'll get your ass out of here. Japanese guys end up paying fees, and then they get their license taken and stuff like that. But you being a gaijin, a foreigner, you're gonna get smashed for that, man. So I'm gonna take this image. I'll have this image up there for a while. So let me take this image down and wrap it up on there. But yeah, so this segment, which is about 34 minutes, and that's great timing. I don't want this to be long. It's just going over some of the crashes I've had. This is only these are like the major ones I've had, where the car was they're pretty much all immobilized, except for the first one that was just lighthearted or whatever. But that was just a track thing. Of course, everybody out there have had like little. I couldn't, man. I'll be here all day just going over all of the drift issues I've I've had over the time and everything. But yeah, little small fender benders, little wall rubs and things like that. It happens. People do that all the time. But these are more so major crashes on my end and all stuff out there. Again, for the guys who are watching, who are just new to drifting, you're going to crash. Again, if you're not crashing, you're just not pushing hard enough. I hate to say it like that. It might sound bad, but everybody who's anybody in drifting has wrecked a car. All your favorite drifters has wrecked cars, one or more, 5 or more. All of you guys have wrecked cars. So again, if you got those feelings out there, it's just not for you. Drifting takes heart, and it's not an easy thing to do. When you do crash, is that PTSD or whatever, a crash, and you got to get over it right away. So you'll see, I've done it plenty of times where you'll have a close call or you wreck, but it's not, you crash, but it's not hard enough to damage anything. You go up the track, you shake the wheel, rev the gas, make sure nothing's sticking, you go back around, you nail it the next time, and people in the crowd be like, oh shit. So you just motivated somebody by having heart, because they see like, oh man, he's going to be done. You come right back around next lap, wide open, then you nail it because you know exactly what you did. So you know exactly what you got to do to make that happen. So drifting is you're teetering on a line of in control and out of control. It takes one little blip or one little something wrong or one little focus. If you guys watched Initial D when Watery was racing Takami and they were going back and forth and it started raining, he turns on his when they were up in the mountains after he had the supercharger or something like that on that. So it was like Project D. So they ran it back and they running it back and forth with Takami and everything, and then he turns on. Was it Takami? Damn, man, it's been a while. I gotta watch it back. Was it Kesuke? Was it Kesuke? Yeah, it was. My bad. Watery versus Kesuke. They didn't run it back. So Watery versus Kesuke in Initial D, when they were in the rain, they were doing uphill battle this time because Watery had the supercharger. Man, I hope I'm right. It's been. If I'm not, I feel bad because I'm an Initial D guy. So anyway, he turned on he driving. And they neck and neck or whatever, and then he turns on the damn windshield wipers, hits a grate, bam, spins out. So when you're driving a car, man, you got to be fully focused on what you're doing. One little mistake will screw things up, so you can't do that. So that's all. Nutshell. It was a good idea. I've been holding it in my head for a while, and I just wanted to get it out. And I'll try to get more of these podcasts out like this where I have like some of a guide that way I'm not talking about, because it seems like when I get on here by myself, I'm not bitching or venting. Well, not bitching, more so venting about what's happening that day, which for me, I run a business, so I'm dealing with customers every day. So it kind of it would sound like I'm a salty guy towards my customers. It ain't that. It ain't always like that. But some customers do. I don't want to talk about it. So anyway, but yeah, that's why I want to have these segments or have topics. Guys are there again. If you want to go ahead, you can go ahead and send topics to Pinku Style podcast at pinkustyle.com. who want me to touch on questions and things like that, and then I'll get to those guys. So again, thanks for tuning in. This is going to be Donnie signing off from Masawa, Japan, Pinku Style Garage. I'll see you guys later out there, and definitely go out there and crash.